This is logged in on November 25th, 2023, Eastern Standard Time. Sensitive material has been breached and it is now in front of the public. This is very sensitive documentation and the world will be in total chaos if leaked, and it is now leaked. All of it. Not one document, all of it. Place of exploitation, forbidden knowledge television. This must be stopped.
The compendium of the Emerald Tablets. Woke doesn't mean broke. The fractal holographic universe. The epic of humanity.
Unlock the secrets of the universe with Billy Carson's exclusive 4-book collection. Whether you're a seeker, dreamer, or just curious about the unknown, these books offer mind-expanding insights and profound knowledge. Only available at forbiddenknowledge.shop.
All right. What's going on? Billy Carson here, aka Forbidden Knowledge. I want to thank everyone and welcome everyone to the live chat today. What's up, eSnap? All right, Azalea Ortiz, Express International, Don S, Nafir, Pachamama Art, It's Your World. All right, Tony Oliveria, CC, Sunny D, what's happening, man? I appreciate y'all. Crazy Ethics. I want to thank everyone for all the positive love. What's going on, Joseph Hess? It's going to be a great talk tonight. I'll be going over the Akashic Records. I kind of did a light tap on the Akashic Records on an Instagram Live the other day for like 10 minutes. But I really wanted to dive a little bit deeper on a more broader scale and a more professional scale, and to give you guys a little bit of a bit more breakdown, a little history, and a deeper understanding of the science. Okay. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate you for the donation. Thank you so much. And so, yeah, I just wanted to be able to spend this time, take some time to go a little bit deeper into the topic, deeper into the information. And so we can get an understanding of how powerful not only we are, but this interconnectedness that we have with the universe as a whole. We're super interconnected with everything. And I do mean everything. And so I think that once a person can gain that kind of perspective on the interconnectedness, how it affects us, how it positions us within reality, within our own understanding of reality, within the nature of our understanding of our belief systems and everything else, it can make a real shift in somebody when you come to this real epiphany. And so I really want to take some time to go over this today and spread some time. And again, thank y'all for all the great, beautiful, heartwarming comments. I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all so much. It's been a long ride. A lot of things have happened in the last few years, but I'm still here. Okay. And I appreciate every single one of you guys. Now, and gals, by the way. So, I'm just thinking there's one more thing I wanted to pull up in reference to this Akashic record. While we're loading up the live chat, make sure everybody click the like button, and make sure everybody, click that like button. And also don't forget to share the video. It's going to be a powerful podcast tonight. Then I have another one coming on right after this. So I'm going to do another podcast on financial literacy with Gavin. We're going to talk about, actually, our financial podcast is going to tap into AI, some of the spiritual concepts of AI, what it means for humanity, and how you can understand, how you can tap into that matrix to attract abundance. And that's going to come up right after this. So I'll be on for a few hours tonight, total time. All right. But I really want to find something real quick while you guys are clicking the like button and sharing the information. I want to be able to find one more thing. Okay. Just want to make sure I get the right page of my book. I'm looking for a page of my book real quick. Yeah. Let's see if I can find it in my book. I'm searching my PDF file right now on my book, Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, which I don't have a copy up here. I have a copy. Here we go. Compendium of the Emerald Tablets, bestseller. Predicted a lot of science before science existed. Predicted what's underneath the pyramids before the pyramids were scanned by that SAR scan from space 5.5 years ago. The prediction was in here. Page 34, like I showed you guys, is the actual rendering of the actual underground city underneath the pyramids. And I say in here, it goes on for miles. A lot of the tech and science of transferring consciousness and DNA hard drives and all of that is in here, which is probably why this has been a #1 bestseller for a very long time. Okay. So I think I got the area where Thoth is talking about the Akashic Records. I just wanted to bring that up to talk about it as well. Okay. Let's see what he says here. This is the right page of my book. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now, all right, let's see who's in the live chat. We got 911 people. We're getting close to 1,000. We're getting close to 1,000. All right. Let's fill this thing up, everyone. Let's fill it up. I'm not sure what page it is in the book because I just scanned the PDF. I don't have the page up on my screen behind the camera, but I did scan the PDF, and maybe I'll be able to see the page when I get back to that screen. All right. We're getting close to 1,000, 945. Make sure y'all share the video. Let's get this thing to 1,000. All right. I see we got a donation from Pray 7. Thank you, Pray 7. Let me go ahead and give him his props for all the assistance and help he's given us over the years and support over the years. Thank you, Pray 7. I really appreciate you. All right. So, all right, cool. Nicole is live from England. All right, cool. So let's get into this. We got close to 1,000. I usually start when we hit 1,000, or we're getting there. All right, we're close. We're at 955 now. All right, so the Akashic Records it's a really ancient thing that has been talked about, or a concept that had been talked about for eons. It's not something new, okay? It's not something new. It is one of the most intriguing esoteric ideas with reference to this energetic grid that we inhabit and that we're interconnected with. And it's supposed to have archived every thought of every sentient being throughout the known universe. I'll take it a step further than that. My personal opinion is that not only does it store every thought, I believe it stores every thought, every event, every emotion that has ever occurred anywhere throughout the known universe. I'm talking about everything. If 2 asteroids collide in space, it records that. I'm talking about every single thing that occurs within the movie of life, within this universe, in my opinion, is recorded into the Akashic Records. We're going to go over some science behind that in a little bit. Now, that part of it's my hypothesis. The other part is just what I've taken from ancient wisdom, where they say that every thought is stored within this field, the Akasha, right? And so it's like this universal memory that takes and stores intuition, creativity, healing, conscious evolution, but not only from human beings, I believe from any being. It could be a dog, it could be a bird. When you think, you create synapses in the brain, whether you're a dog or you're a human. Those synapses leave our skull. We're going to talk about that tonight. And they can be picked up by technology like an EEG and sent to a computer so that we can read what the brain is thinking without cutting your skull open. So we know that these things are leaving our skulls. And by that method, I believe that everything that can think, including trees and plants, because they think as well, is transmitting information directly into the field, okay, into this energetic grid, this field that we all inhabit. If you look into etymology, you're going to get into the Sanskrit. Now, in ancient Sanskrit, Akasa it translates into ether, which is really what we're talking about, the ether of space-time, this soup that we inhabit that gives us the illusion of distance, the illusion of individuality, the illusion of separation. When in true reality, everything is connected, and the ancients knew that. It also translates into sky, or also the 5th element. in Vedic cosmology. And the fifth element, that was a famous movie, right? In that movie, the fifth element was love. And so I believe that the fifth element throughout the known universe still is love. And they took that from Vedic cosmology, incorporated it into a Hollywood film, and made it into an actual movie, okay? Which is pretty cool. But that's the fifth element. But also, they're talking about now the fact that through the Vedic text, the Indian text, what they're saying is that they believe that not only does it store the information, but it also stores sound. This is why I say that when two stones or two asteroids collide in space, it records that. There are these, now people say, well, there's no sound in space. Well, yes, there's sound in space. We've recorded the sounds of planets, of moons, of asteroids. We've recorded these sounds now. We have a wide array of sounds. We even have the sound of our sun. So yes, that's an old myth that there is no sound in space. Now, there's not the type of sound that we consider to be conventional sound here on planet Earth, because on Earth, how we actually hear something is the sound vibrates, right? And it rides over the atmosphere, because right now there's atmosphere around me. 21% oxygen, boron, helium, argon gases, a mixture of gases make up this atmosphere that's around me. When I'm speaking, these undulations in my vocal box create cymatic frequencies that ride on the atmosphere till it gets into the air. It vibrates inside the cochlea. Those hairs pick up those vibrations, and then those vibrations are decoded, because it's an encoded message, are decoded, and then the brain tells you this is what you're hearing. In space, it's a little bit different, because in space, there is no real atmosphere. So you say, well, how can you hear? Because everything in space, no matter where you are really, but those items in space are also giving off frequencies and vibrations, which can be detected on different wave frequencies, okay? So if you have the right type of a telescope that can pick up frequencies, which we have, like we used to have the Arecibo in Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, that one got used so much and been through so many storms, it's broken now. But we have many, many others, but that was one of the greatest ones. That Arecibo satellite dish recorded so much incredible information for us and documented so many things in astrophysics that we're still learning from it today. Thank you a lot, Praise Heaven. I appreciate you, man. And so it detects the frequencies of these objects in space, not specifically the actual sound riding on atmosphere, okay? Larry, if you could consciously access the Akashic Records, which knowledge would you want to know first? Well, you know what? That's a good question. And now maybe I'll do some more of these at the end. But what I would like to know first is I'd like to know when the next golden age begins, because I'm ready for it. I'm ready like a son of a gun for that next golden age. Tell me if I got to get into a stasis chamber and preserve my body for another 1,000 years or whatever I got to do to make it to that golden age, because I'm so ready for it. All right. But so yes, you can detect the sound. Okay, so we know that we can detect these sounds in space, and there are planets and so forth giving off sounds. Now, the incredible thing about it, when you analyze these frequencies coming from the planets and moons and asteroids, even within our own solar system, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, whatever, these sounds, when you slow down the frequency, right, in a audio software, it sounds like communication. It sounds like they're actually having conversations. That's the scariest part. And I do believe that all these planets and moons and so forth are all conscious. And I personally believe, my personal belief is, yes, they are communicating in some way, shape, or form, just like plants communicate with each other in the jungle, trees communicate with each other in the jungle. I believe that, and we communicate, crystals communicate. I believe entire planets communicate, because crystals come from within the earth itself. And if they can communicate, the earth definitely has to communicate, specifically through the fungi network that exists beneath the surface, right? So the fungi network is an interconnected, internet really for organic life. And I think that it's really something that's a whole other topic I need to talk about, to go into the whole fungi network that's beneath the surface of the ground and how it's interconnected with everything and transmits information back and forth around the planet. All right. But everything is storing information. Everything is storing everything. And in the 19th century, Helena Blavatsky actually started tampering with or testing out the understanding of the Akashic Records. She was reportedly like a psychic and started trying to tap into that field. And she was able to, according to her and others, that she was able to begin to get impressions from the field, or from what she called the etheric plane. And she was able to start getting information that people were saying, wow, she actually is getting information that seems to be correct. And of course, we know one of the most famous people of all was Edgar Cayce in more recent times. He was also known as the Sleeping Prophet. And he was reported to have access to this Akashic field in this trance-like state that he would put himself into, this half wake, half in some type of a transcendental type of a meditation, almost, but not quite. Kind of like what remote viewers do when they go out to remote view a target. And he then is able to consciously interact with the field and gather information. He was able to do so much. He was able to gather records, medical information, medical insights, historical insights. He knew things about the planet and from the past and even into the future that we're still finding out today. Okay. And which is pretty incredible. As a matter of fact, if we look at some of his accomplishments and what he was able to achieve, first of all, he talked about Atlantis and Lemuria in 1932. Edgar Cayce, the Sleeping Prophet who tapped into the Akashic field, was literally talking about Atlantis and Lemuria in the 30s. Okay. He gave detailed descriptions of the lost continents, the geography, the culture, the advanced technology, and even talked about their demise, how they came to an end in 1932. He talked about reincarnation and soul purpose. He gave an explanation of the soul. He gave an explanation of the soul cycles. He talked about the karmic lessons, that karmic lessons you can gain from different lifetimes. And he talked about the purpose behind individual incarnations, where people can incarnate like at will, like Thoth talks about in the Emerald Tablets. He talks about people having the ability to actually incarnate. He talked about health, a lot about health. He diagnosed people with diseases and illnesses. He talked about holistic treatments. So if somebody came to him with a particular illness that they couldn't identify, he would then tap into the Akashic field. And he said that he would connect with a mind that existed within the universe. And then he would discern and download and discern that information and bring back the cure to the person. And they actually worked. He talked about people needing to change their diets based on what he was reading within their bodies. He was able to create remedies. He was able to talk about people needing spinal adjustments, or that this pain was coming from something called arthritis and how to treat the arthritis. All these things he knew. Again, that was still in the 1930s. He then also became a master in dream interpretation. And he really laid down the framework for decoding dream symbiosis. And he taught people how to reveal, or he would reveal people's subconscious guidance and their future possibilities. And he would allow people to see where they could be if they make this decision or if they make that decision. In other words, he was tapping into this field that will allow him to see possibilities, and he could see a good possibility or a negative possibility. He would give a person an opportunity to make the right decision for themselves to go down the right path. He was also talking about spiritual growth and meditation. He gave step-by-step meditation practices for expanding consciousness and also accessing higher institutional states, intuitional states. So this guy we're talking about was just mesmerizing. His ability to download information, his ability to discern it and understand it. And talking about he's tapping into other minds within the known universe to get the information. Now, I think that what he was saying was that he was tapping into the mind of people who already had a thought that existed on the grid, and he was quantum entangling with that information and bringing it in and then discerning it and then actually putting action behind it. He knew about DNA and cellular memory in the 1940s. It was his early suggestion that genetic material carries ancestral memories. He's talking about epigenetic memories in the 1940s, which didn't get brought up again until Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about it 25 years ago. 25 years ago. And when he brought that up 25 years ago, the scientific community laughed at him and they tried to ostracize him from the community. They berated him, they embarrassed him, and they tried to basically kick him out, his own peers. Well, fast forward 25 years later, epigenetics is a real science that's taught in universities around the world and proven to be 1000% true. However, Edgar Cayce knew about this in 1939. He already had talked about this. And he just had a lot of information. He talked about so many things. He talked about the world's future and the global transformation. He talked about how the earth is going to be transformed, earth changes that's going to happen, humanity's spiritual awakening by the mid-21st century. And here we are in the mid-21st century. We're headed towards the mid-21st century. We just got into the age of Aquarius, and we're already at the beginning of this new awakening. And he talked about that in 1942, okay? And what did he know about ancient civilizations? What did he know about the real ancient, the ancient stuff? He knew about the Atlantean refugees that founded Egypt. Now, what is an Atlantean refugee? Well, if you look at my docuseries called Anunnaki Ancient Secrets Revealed, it's available on Forbidden Knowledge TV, okay? Forbidden Knowledge TV. Make sure you guys go get that. Matter of fact, I'm going to drop the link in the live chat real quick, okay? What time is it? 8:54. I got some time. Good. Okay. Okay, make sure you guys get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app, all right? 4bk.tv is the web page for it. I just dropped that in the live chat to you. And you can go check that out. And there's over 4,000 amazing shows on the app. 4,000. You can watch for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, okay? Tons of content there that you can go watch. Docuseries, documentaries, TV series, podcast shows, meditation techniques, meditation instructionals, tarot card reading. I mean, you name it, it's all on the Forbidden Knowledge TV app. Okay, so make sure you guys go and get the app and check it out. Thank you. Layanka Reyna says, I have been a 4BK TV fan for a few years now. Love it. Thank you so much, Layanka. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for that testimonial. Okay, so make sure you guys go and get that app. All right. Thank you so much, DJ Hypnotizer. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for all the positive messages you guys have been bringing me. I really need them, so I appreciate it. Now, so he talked about the Atlantean refugees. Now, these refugees, are, in my docuseries, I call them space refugees because of a war that I believe happened in ancient times, millions of years ago, in a different sector of the galaxy, around the Pleiadian star system. And I believe that people fled from there and populated other stars, worlds around other stars, and Earth just happened to be one of them, one of the breakaway civilizations. That's my personal opinion. Cayce taught that when Atlantis sank around 10,500 BC, he said that survivors carried its knowledge into North Africa, and that these refugees established the first Egyptian dynasties and built the Great Pyramid, built the Great Sphinx, and they used Atlantean engineering methods. So me and him were on the same frequency because we both believe that Atlantis was a global civilization, not just a ring city, but that it spread around the entire world. And that's why you can find similar construction techniques being used everywhere, because you only had one master architect. He talked about the Hall of Records beneath the Sphinx. Okay, now, by the way, we're heading to go to the Great Sphinx in a few months. If you want to come hang out with me at the Sphinx inside the enclosure and look down into some of those underground tunnels that they claim don't exist, you got to come register for the Forbidden Tour of Egypt, and I'll take you down there. All right. Let me drop the link to that real quick for you, if I can find the link here, for the Forbidden Tour of Egypt, in case you want to register and come hang out with me in Egypt for a couple of weeks. I will take you to see some of the most amazing things you would ever see. You might never see, actually. Like looking inside of a shaft that you can clearly see is a tunnel that leads somewhere beneath the Giza Plateau. Okay. And I'm going to drop the link for you right now in the live chat. So if you want to register, hurry up and do it, because there's only a few spots left for the Forbidden Tour of Egypt. I just dropped the link in the live chat. All right. And so he talked about the Hall of Records beneath the Sphinx. He described a subterranean library beneath the Sphinx. And he said it's massive. He said it's absolutely massive. Now, I believe that because in 2018, I believe it was, I was doing a presentation, a post-conference presentation at the Conscious Life Expo. It was either 2018 or 2017. A producer who had directed a show that was going to expose what was beneath the Sphinx. It was going to be on the Discovery Channel, airing live. And when it came to air the show, the time came for the show to air, it then said, this show has been canceled. Black screen, this show has been canceled. The gentleman that was a producer was in my conference, my post-conference lecture, gave me his business card and everything. And he said the reason why they stopped this was because we had found something beneath the Sphinx that was massive, and they decided they didn't want it to get out. So they gagged us and made us cancel the show, made us cancel the live feed. And so that's actually what happened. So there's something there. And now we know all this information has come out from the SAR scan, right? Synthetic aperture radar scan using 10 gigahertz band frequency to use vibrations to create an image of what's beneath the Giza Plateau. We know that there are massive areas beneath there now, for sure, without a doubt, that go on for miles, okay? But Edgar Casey tapped into the Akashic Records, got that information. He said that a pyramid-shaped space containing scrolls in both Atlantean and early Egyptian scripts is buried between the Sphinx's paws and accessible via the ancient tunnel, okay? He also talked about it would take, Casey prophesied it would surface during a period of world upheaval, and so he's tying it to some 20th century prophecy. So in some type of world upheaval time frame, supposedly this information will surface if it hasn't already been swept away by the elites that have gone down there, governments that have gone down there and possibly already cleared it out. But I personally believe it's already been discovered, but that's just my opinion. He talked about past life readings as an Egyptian priest named Ra-Ta, and in multiple life readings, he said that he was Ra-Ta, and he recounted lifetimes as an ancient Egyptian priest and healer and initiator of the Great Pyramid's inner sanctums. So in some way, he felt like he was an incarnation of this Ra-Ta from ancient Egypt. And he gave detailed information about healing modalities, the 7 stages of soul growth, practiced temple adepts, practiced knowledge with a temple adept to teach them all the secrets in his ancient past and his pre-life. He claimed to have done all these incredible things. Incredible person. I mean, now, if I just heard the ancient stuff that he accomplished with no knowledge of the more modern stuff that he did, like healing people, diagnosing their illness and that being a fact, making specific predictions within our time period that have actually happened. Now that I heard that, I believe what he's saying about the ancient past. If I just heard what he said about the ancient past, I mean, anybody can make that up. But because of his track record with what's happened in current times, I have to say that I've got to believe that what he was saying was in some way, shape, or form accurate to some degree. And of course, we can't fully confirm that, but I believe that I believe there's some truth to the myth, okay? Which is pretty cool. So we're talking about this Akashic field, and we're talking about, what we're really talking about is science, right? We're talking about science because we're talking about the quantum field, this interconnectedness in the quantum realm. And in this quantum realm, everything is connected. Not only is everything connected, but also the space between things is an absolute illusion. It doesn't even exist. Okay, it doesn't exist. And if you can wrap your mind around that, it will kind of freak you out a little bit that everything is local and that we're only living within the illusion of separation. It's just an absolute illusion. Now, let's talk a little bit about the science behind this concept of the Akashic Records. Now, the Akashic Records has a different name as well. The Akashic Records is also called the Book of Life. The Book of Life is known in religious texts as in the Bible, but that it's also known in much older texts known as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. This is the first account of the Book of Life being mentioned over 36,000 years ago in ancient text. And the Book of Life, according to the information about it in these texts, is, of course, it records everything that you've ever done. And it's being stored in this database, this universal database. And that in some way, shape, or form, after you pass or shed this mortal body, you will then have to be held accountable for the things you did while you were here, right? And it's going to be judged from this Book of Life, or according to the Vedas, from this Akashic record of you. So the Akashic record and the Book of Life, both of those things are the same exact thing, okay? And how does one tap into this information? I have an hypothesis about this. So I believe that it's all about quantum entanglement, okay? Quantum entanglement. And now quantum entanglement is a very, very interesting thing. If you don't know what quantum entanglement is, I'll give you a very brief description. Thank you for the donation, Mike. So if you take two particles, like two electrons, and you use a laser and you do something called parabolic down conversion, and you get those two particles on the same frequency, you now have created an entanglement between those two particles. This is just one way of doing it. We know that the human mind, now we know for a fact, based on real science, quantum entangles with information known throughout the known universe, even in higher dimensions, according to the Brain Institute. Now, in quantum entanglement, if I were able to take one particle and leave it close to me and take the other particle and move it to the other end of the universe, if I affect the particle next to me, like if I ping a photon off of it, the other particle that can be 100 million light years away will respond to that ping instantaneously, bypassing the speed of light, okay? So it's an incredible rate of speed that this communication happens. It happens almost instantly. As a matter of fact, Albert Einstein called it spooky action at a distance. It freaked him out. It totally freaked him out. Now, scientists started analyzing our synapses in our brains, and they started understanding that our synapses, which is the movement of particles of electric charge and other particles that go along with the charge, which I believe is the encoding of the information from one neuron to the next. It has this jump. So you have two neurons that almost touch. And in between there, a synapse happens when you think about something. So this charge jumps across the gap. And on that charge is what? It's encoded with information. And they noticed that sometimes these synapses were phasing out of our reality in the third dimension and then reappearing. And so scientists have been hypothesizing that our thoughts have been phasing out into different dimensions and then somehow coming back. We now feel that the brain does not create consciousness, it downloads consciousness. And if you begin to analyze the way that our structure is created underneath our skull, there's something called the neural correlates of consciousness. And that name is not a spiritual name. That's 3 giant neurons that wrap around the inside of the head on the skull. And when you look at them on a CAT scan, it looks like a crown of thorns. Does that sound familiar to you? A man walking around with a crown of thorns? Sounds like the biblical Yeshua. Then we have the neural correlates of consciousness, which are a crown of thorns. We have billions of magnetite crystals in our brains. Billions of magnetite crystals, real crystals that are magnetized. And then we also have our neocortex. And the combination of those three things and I think it's the colostrum. Those 3 or 4 things help to allow us to lock in the frequency of consciousness that we're downloading, this stream of information that's coming in. It takes that stream, it discerns it, it breaks it down, and then it allows it to inhabit us. And it also allows it to transmit back to the source everything that's going on, back out into the Akashic field, everything that's going on. And when you begin to understand this, that every thought that you think, it leaves your skull. It doesn't stay inside of here. It doesn't stay inside. Right now, wherever you are, you're thinking about something. You're thinking about anything. Every one of your thoughts is leaving out of your skull, right through the bone, in a wave of light. Light that you can't see with your naked eye because we can only see less than 1% of the light spectrum. How do we know this? Well, if I take an EEG cap and just rest it on your head and tell you to think about something, those thoughts will leave your skull and go into the sensor inside the EEG and transmit it through the wires into a computer. And then I can read your thoughts on a computer screen. So that's how we know that the thoughts are not staying inside of our skull. They don't stay local. They go out into the field forever. So even your first thought, the very first thought you had inside of your mother's womb, the very first time you can create that very first synapse, that magical spark, it's out there somewhere. The very first one, all the way up until right now, this exact moment. Everything you've ever done, every person you've ever talked to, every situation you've ever been in, good or bad or indifferent, it's all there. It's all in the field. Everything. There's nowhere to hide from the field. The field exists inside of us, outside of us, through us, and everywhere around us. So everything that you thought you got away with has been recorded. You can't get away with anything. You can make up as much stuff as you want. You can tell people as many lies as you want. You can lie to yourself if you want. But this field, it stores everything. And so it's incredible because the book of life is real. In Egypt, when I take people to Egypt, I take them to see the hieroglyphs that show what happens to a person when they're trying to pass from this dimension into the next and incarnate again. And it shows them that their heart has to be lighter than a feather. So it's a metaphor showing that once they shed this corporeal body, in order to transcend to the next, to a higher level, it's going to take an account of how they live their life. These gatekeepers. And when these gatekeepers analyze your life, they're going to be tapping into the Akashic Records or the book of life, same thing, to analyze how good you were or how bad you were. And based on that, they'll know if your heart is lighter than a feather. If your heart's not lighter than a feather, guess what? You'll be right back here, grinding it out again. If your heart's lighter than the feather, you may be able to transcend even maybe to a higher dimension or a different mission. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy. So I take people to see it every single year, okay? Every single year. And this is why even your thoughts, like, hey, look what we got here. This is Lee, there you go. Lee A says thoughts matter. And that's actually a double entendre because of matter, right? Physical matter and thoughts matter. Thoughts create matter, but the thoughts really matter. So it's really a double entendre, which is pretty cool. But yeah, thoughts do matter because you don't have to say anything. Just the conscious thought alone, without you even uttering a word, is going into the field. Everything that you're doing is being stored in this field. You can't escape it. Every thought that you think is going out into the field. People who have the capability of tapping into or quantum entangling with that information may have the ability to download and discern the information from the records. And I honestly believe there are people out there that have that skill or that gift. And of course, Thoth talks about having the gift in the Emerald Tablets, and others talk about having the gift in other texts, even in religious texts. that purportedly are people that claim to have this gift to read the book of life and hold you accountable for everything that you've done. I don't believe in a lake of fire and all that kind of crazy stuff. I don't get into that. I don't get into that trash. I don't believe in that stuff. That was added to the Bible. I don't really get into the you're going to burn and suffer for all eternity and so forth and so on. And you're going to be, suffering and crying and moaning and waning and for all. I don't believe in that. But what I do believe in is us learning our lessons and having to come back and do it again until we get to a point where we have ascended to a certain level of consciousness. There are some people that exist on this planet right now that could be 15, 20 years old, and they could have parents that are 50 and 60 years old, or even grandparents that are 70 years old. But the person that could be 15 or 16 could be ancient. And the person that's okay, I don't know what happened. That was weird. It was like my screen popped and then it just went down. That was strange. Never seen that happen before. That was pretty strange. Anyway, I'm here. I didn't go anywhere. All right. Y'all thought I ascended to another dimension, huh? So my train of thought was, you can be ancient. You can be ancient and be young, and a person that's older than you, your own mother or father, they could be brand new in the spirit. In other words, a person 60 or 70 might actually be a person that just arrived here spiritually for the first or second time. And the person that could be 10, 15, 20 years old could have been here hundreds of times. They could be ancient, you see, spiritually, which is why you can't really judge people by their age in certain situations, because some people have lived many lives, many more than some others. You have the illusion of age in this dimension and the illusion of the birthday clock. But in true reality, some people are much older than others. And we know old souls when we see them, when we talk to old souls, we know what that means. And people that have been here many, many times before, right? And they could just be a young child, but we know that they're an old soul, which is pretty cool. All right. So yeah, it's really amazing, man. It's really amazing. It's an amazing concept to understand this Akashic record and how it works, how people have been able to tap into that field, like Edgar Cayce and many others. Some psychics, even in modern times, claim to have access. I can't say they can, they can or can't. These modern psychics, I can't say if they are or not, because I'm not them. I don't know what they're getting. If somebody goes for a reading and they happen to get something that to them vibrates with them or makes them feel good, or in some way confirm something that they were looking for, or maybe they can verify information that the person had done in the past, well, maybe they have the power. I'm not here to judge anybody and say they can or can't do it. I know that there's probably a limited amount of people that can do it. But it's something really amazing to think about. But how does it affect us? It affects us even if we can't tap into the field because we aren't trained to, or we haven't gotten to that level of consciousness. How it affects us, though, just knowing that there is this field that exists, and this field is calculating and saving and storing all the information about every event and everything we think and everything that's happened with each and every one of us. So with that knowledge now, do you now think in your mind, well, maybe I should treat people better. Maybe I should try to be a better person. Maybe I should watch what I think about myself and what I think about others without even speaking. Maybe I should be less judgmental. Maybe I should have more, show more self-care and self-love and respect for myself and others. Because everything is being recorded. It's like there's a camera at every unit in space-time calculating and recording every single thing that you say and do. And it sounds kind of freaky and maybe a little weird, right? Because, I mean, you don't want anybody watching you use the bathroom, but it's not really a specific person per se. It's this energetic grid that's recording the data. But just to know that everything is being recorded and can be recalled at any moment in some future reality or in some higher dimension, I believe that the knowledge of this might make people operate, think, behave better, and make them feel different about themselves, all right? In ancient Egyptian cosmology, the concept of Ma'at, cosmic order and truth, and the Duat, the spiritual realm, suggests a universal framework where all deeds and events are recorded. Thank you, Larry Newkirk. That's absolutely 1000% correct, okay? And Ma'at is the wife, or was the wife, of Thoth, Thoth, one of the former rulers over the land of ancient Kemet, also known as now Egypt. And she wrote the 42 laws of Ma'at, which is where the 10 commandments spring from, the 42 laws of Ma'at. I've done lots of videos on the 42 laws of Ma'at. Maybe I'll do a new one in the future, all right? But the information is interesting. I'm really excited about, spreading information about the Akashic Records, because I want people to know that I don't believe that it's just pure myth. I don't believe it's pure myth. I believe that it's something real. I believe that it's something that can be accessed just based on quantum physics and quantum mechanics. And I do believe that the knowledge of this and how it works, and the fact that we are interacting with this grid and sending information directly into it, like an upload on a consistent basis, the knowledge of that might make people behave better and think better and love and respect people better. Holy H302 says, the compendium of the Emerald Tablets helped me to understand that the angles are the physical angels, or the angels are the physical angles less than 90 degrees in our physical reality. That's correct. That's 1000% correct. The angles are the angels. So the angels are the angles. We're talking about moving up 90-degree angles into different dimensions. We know that dimensions are compactified, and yes, compactified is a real word in science, compactified on top of each other, and they are stacked and layered. The only way to access them is to move into a 90-degree angle and up into the next dimension, but you have to match that dimensional frequency in order to move up into it, all right? So that was a good one. That curses reside in dark crevice of life. Curses are the spoken word frequencies of extremists. The 400-year curse is the N word, which describes the unlawful pagan of traffickers. You're right. Absolutely right. Words have power over our reality, and they really convinced us to utilize that word. Now they got people saying YNs. They even say them saying on ESPN, one of the sports analysts called, out the YNs. And that means something totally derogatory. We think that it's a cool phrase or cool saying, but it's really a curse. It's a way of utilizing cymatic frequencies to create a frequency that engulfs us and keeps us in a low vibration. And that low vibration sends a mirror into the universe, and the mirror reflects back to us the same vibration. So it keeps us stuck in this never-ending situation where more problems for more problems, more problems for more solutions. It just never ends, and more negativity, more darkness. And you go into this deep spin cycle of just dark negativity, street fights, gangs, fighting, arguing, whatever, toxicity, whatever it is. But those words, they know the words to keep pushing at us and on us to get us to utilize those words, because those words are frequencies. We see them as words, but they see them as frequencies, and those frequencies will get you quantum entangled with the Dark Brothers, talked about in the Emerald Tablets. All right. So it's been a great talk, guys. I'm going to hop off and freshen up, and I'm going to come right back on at 9:30 with Gaven, and we're going to talk about the spiritual understanding and concepts of AI. What does it mean for us? How do we evolve within this new AI universe that we're being forced into, and how can we capitalize or maximize it for ourselves? Because it's not going anywhere. So how do we use it in a positive way? So that's going to be the next podcast coming up at 9:30 tonight, right here on the same channel, right here, live, not pre-recorded. I'll be back live again. I'm just going to get some water and freshen up a little bit, and I'll be right back on here with Gaven Sarial. And guys, I want to drop the link one more time to Egypt in the live chat. So let me just drop the link in the live chat to Egypt. I would love for you all to come to Egypt, hang out with me in Egypt. Let me pull up my tour link here and just get that to you. Hang out in Egypt. It's going to be an amazing tour. We've got quite a few tours coming up. Turkey as well. We have Turkey coming up in September. If you want to go to Göbekli Tepe, Derinkuyu, Karahan Tepe, all these ancient sites, click that link and look at some of the other tours as well on the website. You might find a tour that you resonate with more and register and come hang out with me for a couple of weeks in Turkey, Egypt, Mexico, Peru. We go all over the world, okay? And we take people to see the most amazing things, all right? So make sure you guys check that out. You register ASAP because time is literally running out. I mean, literally it's running out, all right? And don't forget, my book, Fractal Holographic Universe, The Matrix Code Revealed. It hit #1 in fractal mathematics and #1 in science and philosophy on Amazon, which is very powerful. Lots of 5-star reviews, so check it out. After decades of extensive research on the nature of reality, I have concluded that we exist in a fractal holographic universe, a concept that reaffirms our reality rather than negating it. This modern concept reflects the wisdom of ancient civilizations by providing a scientific way to explain how things are created in our world and the basic code that governs it. The Mandelbrot set is an intriguing pattern that exists within the vast two-dimensional area called the complex plane. The Mandelbrot set emerges when a specific